They say entrepreneurship, being a creator, being a high performing, high functioning business professional pursuing an audacious goal is hard. That's what everyone says. Go to any podcast, watch any YouTube series, read a billion books. Everything is saying it's hard. Okay, well, let's unpack why it's hard. Let's deconstruct the variables that make these things, achieving these things hard. Why is it that so many people are glamorizing, romanticizing entrepreneurship, being a YouTuber, being a podcaster, being a founder as the epitome of identity, of self discovery, of success in the vague sea of digital consumption? And at the same time, it is these are the hardest things to do. You know what feels practically impossible? Trying to find a service solution that helps you better connect with customers and keep them happy. It's like trying to remember the name of that one guy you just met at a networking event. Was it Ron? Was it Don? Was it John? Maybe it was Sean? Yeah, I don't know. Just impossible. Well, HubSpot's all-new Service Hub can help in this department, at least in the service solution part, that is. It brings service and success together on one powerful platform for the first time ever, with an AI-powered help desk and an AI chatbot that handles frontline tickets faster. Plus, it comes with a customer success workspace that helps reps anticipate customer needs. And with a full 360 view of every customer, your go-to market team can keep a pulse on accounts before trying to upsell or even cross-sell. Also, you can scale support, drive retention, and maximize revenue. And you know what that means? Better service and happier customers at every stage of their journey. Visit HubSpot.com/service to do more for your customers today. It's the same equivalency of everyone who has any remote amount of basketball talent. Want to be in the NBA, want to be an all-star, wants to be the next LeBron, Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant, RIP, Michael Jordan. It goes on and on. So you're telling me, first you got to have any remote amount of talent. Then you need the right conditions, the right connections, and the right cultivations to do what you need to do. You know how lucky you need to be to even have that, for even a chance at the next thing, to have people see you, support you, invest in you, create a pathway for you to grow, and you level up. You level up who you're connected with. You improve your skill. You build your discipline, and you go and you go and you go. So you go to AA, high school, college, or you may go overseas. Then you may get into the NBA. What's amazing to me, throughout the entirety of the National Basketball Association, there's been between 4,000 to 5,000 players all time. Only 1.2% of all collegiate players make the jump from college to the NBA. Approximately 3.6% of all high school boys basketball participants go on to play at any NCAA school. That's Division 1, 2, or 3. And from that, let's put things in perspective. You have 20 million youth players. From that pool gets you 551,373 high school players. And from that gets you roughly 25,000 collegiate players, to then dwindles down to 450 NBA players. And even at that, the average career length in the NBA is roughly 4.5 years. So if we do the math, the percentages, the dwindling amount, if you're a youth who then becomes a high school star, who then becomes a collegiate star, who even gets drafted in the NBA. This doesn't mean you're an all-star. This doesn't even mean you're a starter. This doesn't even mean you're an established rotation coming from the bench. You could be number 14 on the bench, a star athlete at the collegiate level, an all-star at the high school level, and like pro level talent on youth teams. But in the NBA, you're a bench player. And even at that, the NBA minimum salary is $1.1 million. $1.1 million. And to put things into perspective, the worldwide net private wealth stood at $454.4 trillion in 2022-2023. Just 1.1% of the world adult population fall in the bracket of those between $100,000 to $1 million. This isn't 1.1% only at a million. This is 1.1% of the world population with the range of $100,000 to $1 million. So I'm sharing this to anchor all of this together. You have talent as a youth. You cultivate that talent. People notice you. They invest in you. Maybe it's your parents, your family, coaches, churches, community. It's going to take a whole village to get you the attention and the funds to continue for you to do what you need to do, which is the discipline, the practicing, getting the drills, learning formations, learning plays, learning the psychology, the mental fortitude, how the game needs to be played, how your body needs to respond, how you do your angles, how you lift off, how you shoot with your fingertips and not your palm. How do you box out, zone, man, different coverages, switching off, all these different variables. You get better, you get stronger, you get into the weight room. You learn how to train your body, how to eat, how to sleep, how to prepare to then get into high school, to get into college, to maybe at the will of just probability, you get into the NBA and you're on the bench. And we as fans can say, this person failed because they're sitting on a bench, making $1.1 million minimum on the bench. And let's say for only 4.5 years, and that's all they can do, that's 4.5 million. And that alone puts them at a ratio of 1.1% of the total population. But then we just did the math, and only 3.4% of any talent ever make it to pro. Let alone, we're just talking bench level. We're not talking rotation player, a starter, an all-star, and then a top 50 player. Maybe not all time, maybe in that year. Jersey sales, endorsement deals, commercials, all that jazz adds up, but we start at the percentages. Now, you don't come to someone who has any remote amount of talent and you lay out all the stats on them from the beginning. You put the ball in their hands and see if they're going to shoot for a few years, see if they're conditioned to grow and scale first. You don't put the weight on them. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to bring this on home. Most of the individuals who get to the collegiate level, who are on the verge of the pro level, have a fork in the road. Do you want to be an average 20-year-old and just enjoy the vanities that you get to have in this environment of college? Or are you able to look beyond that? If I just focus for a little bit longer, I could reap a big reward that could set my whole life up and create generational wealth. I'm the one to break the cycle and get us on a different path. Now, that's a lot of pressure. Now, add in most of those individuals who choose to take that on. They're not just doing this for them anymore. They're doing it for their family. They're doing it for their loved ones. They're doing it to provide a better life. That's additional pressures. Is it fair? It shouldn't be, because some people don't have that pressure. They came from wealth. They have talent. They were able to have the best opportunities and network connections, and maybe they got into the pro leagues because of the family lineage. So, Troy, where are you sharing all that? Maybe you're not a basketball enthusiast like me. You could care two left feet about any of this thing. I'm always about analogies and putting things in perspective. Now, We take the same thing we just talked about and we anchor it and swap out basketball for entrepreneurship, for creators, for business professionals. You are digital athletes. You have to have the fortitude and the mentality and the ability to press on beyond what the statistics say you can or cannot do. Yes, you have to put in the energy and the effort and the discipline. You have to do things at times where you're not motivated, but are you conditioned? Are you cultivated? Are you connected? Do you have the right environment to help you break through barriers and walls and just societal things that will prevent most from breaking through? We can set goals and never achieve them. And we will beat ourselves up to a pulp because we didn't achieve them. Well, was the goal even feasible in the first place? Because you read a book and someone achieved something, that doesn't mean you can achieve it in the same way because their set of conditions may not be your own. Many of the people that we reference and quote in entrepreneurship as creators, Mr. Beast, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, all these different individuals that come to mind and all the different ways that you may perceive things, see things, many of them already had pressures taken off them that would make them the ability to just lean more into them willing themselves.
What's up, digital world? You're listening to the I Digress audio experience with Troy Sandidge. Social media, marketing, storytelling, business, culture, and more. Coming to you in 3, 2, 1.
The main reason most people fail in any profession, as entrepreneurs, as creators, they run out of money. So therefore, they pause their dream. And most times they're so discouraged from that, they don't pick it back up. It's over. They fail. Because they're going all in on an idea. All in. Then the money doesn't come. They are awakened to the reality of what is that just because you have an idea and you are so passionate about your idea and you tell the world about your idea does not mean the world is going to care. You have to make them care. You have to make them believe. But even in that, that's not enough. You need to have co-signers. You need to have advocates. What do I say? Buyers, advocates, and elevators. The relationship status of Bay to get anything to any way and anywhere. And most times, in many cases, the initial idea will fail miserably. It's going to stink so bad, you're going to have to leave. Come back with a hazmat suit, throw it out, and try again. And what's crazy, we glamorize sacrifice and being a martyr and taking the pain and giving up all your 20s for 30s. And yeah, if we go back to what we went through the timeline of basketball, many folk do that. They give up their childhood, their teenage years, and most of their collegiate years get there. But that's the 1% of the 1% of the 3.6% of the 5.2% of the 10%. So that's like 0.0001%. No, my math isn't right, but you get my point. The odds are never, ever in your favor. This is not me crushing anyone's dream. This is knowing the dream is only the start. The dream sparks the vision. From the vision, you start building a plan. From the plan, you create a strategy. And then you take action and you hit the wall of failure. Then you reroute your strategy. You set a new plan and you take another action. You may break that wall. You may go over the wall, under the wall, around the wall, or you have to try again. Pick up new tools, ask for help, try again and again and again. And sometimes that wall will not move, will not break because it wasn't meant for you to break it. So then you have to go back to the drawing board and try something different. The difference between being an entrepreneur, being a creator, being a business professional, and an athlete in a specific condition is that you can reinvent yourself to pursue a slightly different path towards the same trajectory. If you're trying to be a basketball player, you have to be a basketball player and give everything you can to being a basketball player. Yes, the ability and the skills are transferable to, let's say, football and other such things. But in most cases, you give all yourself to basketball and you don't make the draft. Or you make the draft and you don't get drafted. and you don't get on a team as an undrafted individual, and maybe you don't get on a team an international player, what are you going to do? There's a person I went to high school with. Everybody called him Tea Time. Terrence Wayne from Gary, Indiana. It's cool when you know people from similar hometowns. And I remember he was the best player at our high school, Andrean High School. The best player. Had the most grit, had the most swagger. He'd be in the gym. I had a few classes with him. There was one moment in particular. The only moment that's ever happened. When you are a person of color at a predominantly white private school. It's not always glamorous. It's not High School Musical over here. There are some biases, prejudice, or racial things that may occur. And, it's not becoming of the school. And in most cases, there's not much they can do. You can't just remove racism and prejudice from a situation, especially if it's unknown, unsaid, or unacknowledged. But it was a good high school. But anyway, I got bullied a lot, especially since I wasn't a stereotypical black person. I was very skinny, puny, and a very timid personality. So easy target. Knocked out a few times, beat up. It's pretty bad. Anyway, there was one day we were in the locker room and I was afraid to go out again because had dodgeball season. And I got really good at dodging until everyone made me the target, and everyone would just target me in the whole gym period. Gym teacher would leave and they would just target me the whole period. And I knew it was coming. They would make jokes. Previous class before getting, where are we gonna get you? There were days where I couldn't take it anymore. And I'd be like, come on at me. And they're like, oh, he got a voice now. He's angry now. And there was this one kid. He was the worst. He was the rival, prejudiced, racial antagonist of my high school years. And it was bad. And he had very well connections, very prominent family. He was set for life. And he made me the mark. And he would galvanize everyone to just bully me. And there was this one day I just couldn't take it that day. I didn't have the mental fortitude or the strength. And ironically, we had changed gym periods, and so we had to share with another group. And tea time was in that period. And of all times, when you're popular and you're accepted, you don't want to shake the dynamics. And he chose that day and that moment to shake the dynamic and stand up for me. I was like, not today. Let him be. And we had a moment, very brief, in the locker room after. And I said, why? And he's like, believe it or not, I used to be that, and I wasn't. And I think we see people at their best. We see athletes at their strongest. And we forget that they once didn't have all that muscle, the mental fortitude, the confidence, the conviction, the strength. We forget people grow at different intervals. Thankfully, I grew like 3 or 4 more inches. Man, unfortunately, I didn't make it to 6 feet, but 5'9", 5'10" ain't too bad. We all grow in different paces, and I always stood out to me for him to do that and him to connect that to me. And you're probably wondering now, he is a 4-time champion in the Australian leagues, and I'm very proud of him. Big shout out to you. And everyone finds their path. Everyone finds their way. And we set these audacious goals. And just because someone didn't achieve this doesn't mean they won't achieve something big. Beyond the conviction, beyond what people thought they could from their socioeconomic status or hometown where they came from. People have hard lives. We have to have more empathy and lean on that. And I share all that to say, if we look at the percentages of people in professional sports, he's a professional athlete who won 4 championships. He may or may not ever be in a NBA league per se. But you can't tell me when you look at the math, when you look at the percentages, that is not a high achievement worthy of praise and adoration. Just because you're not Jeff Bezos, which is one in a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth chance. I'm not telling you to lower your standards. I am telling you to build yourself up off real goals. The math ain't math. The reality is there. That doesn't mean to deter you. If you really want to do this thing and commit the rest of your life have no regrets about it if that is what you are meant to do. But many people come to that crossroad and that reality and truth, like, I am not good enough for that goal. That doesn't mean I can't be the best at a certain goal. Just because your first 5 to 8 tries at entrepreneurship left you in the negatives doesn't mean the next one won't. Yeah, you may not make $50 million, but $500,000 ain't bad. We did the math. 1.2% of the world adult population makes between $100,000 to $1 million. You're chasing an epsilon of 1% or less to even get to that. Not everyone who's in entrepreneurship needs to chase money every day. Not every creator needs to be the scale size of Mr. Beast. Not every podcaster is going to be a Joe Rogan. Not every entrepreneur, not every public speaker is going to make millions of dollars running the same talk track every week to sold out crowds at every event. They've been saying the same thing for 10 years and they've been making more money every year since. Ain't nothing new from it. Not everyone gets that lucky. Not everyone has that same brand positioning or flair or resonance, and that's okay. We can be inspired by those who break through these ceilings and achieve the epsilon of the epsilons. But when we get back to reality, what can we do? What's a goal that's achievable? And then as we're building things up, maybe chase something that we think is unobtainable and see. Science of Scaling, hosted by Mark Rabesh, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for busy professionals. Each week, Mark, founding CRO at HubSpot CRO, senior lecturer at Harvard Business School, and co-founder of Stage 2 Capital, sits down with the most successful sales leaders in tech to learn the secrets, strategies, and tactics to scaling your company's growth. He covers things like how to integrate your first sales hire, how to align your sales and marketing teams, how to add a sales org to your PLG company, how to get customer advocates in your go-to market strategy, and so much more. Listen to The Science of Scaling wherever you get your podcasts. Coming from where I'm coming from, I have not one, but 2 podcasts, each on its own individual podcast network. Obviously, the I Digress podcast, which has been going since September 2020 and officially got into the HubSpot Podcast Network. And my new podcast, Unfiltered Growth with Christina K, on the Guru Podcast Network, which we just officially launched. Go to unfilteredgrowth.com, which will take you to our Apple Podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, show some love. We also can be found on YouTube. Yes, I know, video podcasts. Yep, your boy's doing the video podcast with his BFF, Christina K. Go check it out there. We appreciate the love. Unfiltered Growth Pod on Instagram, Unfiltered Growth on TikTok. Follow, show some love, share some comments on YouTube. Leave us a review. If you have any questions, let us know. Yes, we're accepting sponsors. Yes, I am accepting guests. Join the waitlist. Go to season3media.com/podcast. Check it out. Fill out a form. That doesn't mean you're going to be a guest. You can join the waitlist for approval to be a guest on the show. And we are tackling how to grow a business in an equitable way. We're going to be raw and real, unfiltered. It's a different experience. It's not just a talking head like me. We're going to have dynamic co-hosts, guests, all the things. It's going to be fun. So if you can do me a favor, if you love I Digress, you can still rate and review me here if you haven't. I Digress is still accepting sponsorships as well. So just putting it out there. But it would do my heart a lot of good if you all can show some love to Unfiltered Growth. We're in the early stages and we're growing fast, but we need your help. Please help us do that. But yeah, I digress. 2 podcasts, 2 different networks. I've only done 2 podcasts. Now, I know many people who are podcasters who have been putting in the game for 10 years, have not made a sponsor, have not gotten on a network. And they're probably asking me, well, Troy, what did you do? Well, if we use the same analogy and example, I had the right conditions, had the right convictions, the right confidence, the right connections to grow and scale at an astronomical rate. Even though I was an amateur and a novice of literally being a podcaster, I've cultivated being a marketer and a creator since I was 14 years old. And so those skills are transferable. Building a community and having connections in a network was already in my established environment. And that was cultivated through this medium being a podcast. I don't have the privilege or the funds or the access to do many things that many people give advice to grow a podcast. But what I did was create and build the infrastructure for me internally to record at a rate that made sense to me in my current state of my life. When an opportunity presented itself to pursue being on the HubSpot Podcast Network, I pitched myself and I kept it raw and real of who I was, what I was able to do, who my audience was, and why I should be chosen to be in that market. And they chose me. Luck, positioning, confidence in the moment, perfect timing, boom. But I still then had to do more, create more, connect more, do more, build my personal brand, learn from experts, let things go that I was not really good at, embrace things that other people said would work, release the pride, your ego, modify, change, humble yourself, adjust, build, grow, repeat. There was a time I got paid $500 for a 30-second ad per episode. And then something happened in my life where I wasn't able to crank out an episode every week, which means I wasn't getting $500 an episode for that one ad slot, which broke my heart. And then other things happen, and you get back up on the wheel. You try again, you try again, you try again. I've lost sponsors. I've pitched sponsors. It didn't happen. But at the same time, the podcast allowed me to get clients externally because they were listening. It was almost like they were always with me. I was consulting them for free. And eventually, like, you know what? I want to invest in you. I want to talk to you. Or it's gotten me speaking opportunities and other things like that. And so when you're building something and doing something, we are so focused. If I was so focused on the direct way I wanted to make money from this podcast, which is sponsorships, right? And let's say I had a crazy audacious goal of getting $200,000 for this podcast annually. Let's say I only made $20,000. That $20,000 from a secondary revenue stream source. And if we line up all the hours it took to build the podcast per month and making that out, that's a pretty good chunk of change when majority don't even make $1,000 a year off sponsorships. You built something that someone was willing to put in that amount of money to something you created that I didn't have any guests. I'm only 30 minutes or less. I'm black. I'm young. I'm coming at a certain angle, a certain way. I'm reading the ads, all these things, and you're co-signing and all that, and like, go do it. I want my ads to be on your show. Wow, amazing. But if I set my goal up of, well, I'm a failure because I didn't get to 200,000. I got 20,000. You gotta realign your goals to perspectives of reality and fact check. Now, sure, I'm not saying if I need to make 100,000 from my podcast to live, and I'm only making 20, well, that's a different perspective. That's a different reality and a different truth. No, I'm sweating. We ain't eating. This is not good. But I wasn't. I either had a job or my entrepreneurship journey provided enough money to maintain, and this was a secondary thing. So now, from all of that experience, we are literally at 750,000 downloads. I am 250,000 downloads away from achieving 1 million downloads. That is an achievement that most podcasters don't even get nowhere near. We've surpassed 100 episodes. That's an achievement most people don't ever unlock. We made money from the podcast. That's what most people don't ever do. Would I like more money? Would I like more sponsors that are paying me at a higher rate? Heck yes, please. Reach out, DM me. Message me, email me, serious candidates, Troy@findtroy.com. Let me know. But this all started as nothing. The statistics were not in my favor. The pathway I chose to do the podcast, not in my favor. Not the most sustainable way, not the best way. It is harder to do a solo experience and hope people will listen, hope people will care. Are you kidding me right now? This is ridiculous. And then, after all of this, having doubts and wanting to quit a million times, here we are. I've launched a second podcast with a good friend of mine, Christina K. Again, unfilteredgrowth.com. Please review, subscribe, listen. It's good. If you vibe here, you vibe there. And probably even better because there's more people, more things to do. Promise you. And that's not on a network. Now, how did I get that? Conversations, networking, building a brand, and right time, Right ask, right positioning, right opportunity, boom. But Troy still got to do the work. I got to maintain I digress, and I'll double down on unfiltered growth. I got to promote this podcast, find a system, record, edit, produce, output, pitch, market, sell here, and then double down and do that with my co-founder and co-host over there. Pitch, create, sell, all that. One podcast is hard enough. Now I'm doing a second one. Okay. Now I'm trying to, my clientele dried up in Q1. Well, let's double down and boost it up in Q2. The cycle of which you grow. Again, we're going back to digital athletes, going back to the journey of a pro basketball player. When you look at the behind the veil, all it took, we play people who just sit on the bench. They worked hard. They earned their seat on that bench. And you'd be amazed that everyone has a game. You pull some random person no one knows, and they have a game. For those who may not know, Malachi Flynn dropped a historic 50-piece for the Detroit Pistons. No one knew who the heck he was. And he is only the third player to have a 50-point game off the bench since, I believe, 1970. Everyone has a game. They're like, we ain't no scrub. I have been conditioned, and they have the moment, and they take it, and they achieve. We got to stop playing bench players. They worked hard to get that bench. And they're making good money, too. We got to stop playing smaller entrepreneurs, smaller creators. They worked hard. And most times, the micro-influencers, the micro-creators have more influence from a percentage perspective than those with 10 more zeros, who are well-known, who are searchable and have a knowledge panel, who get invited to all the things. They're more relatable, and they connect. And they ain't no scrubs. You are not a scrub. Put things in perspective. Do me a favor. Whatever you've achieved, do what I just did from the beginning of this episode and work your way backwards. And do the statistics and do the math. You'll find that your achievement puts you at a top epsilon that others dream to be in. It's amazing to me that we forget how hard it took us to get there. Now, sure, Troy wants more money. Troy wants more clients. Troy needs more money. Troy needs more clients. Troy needs more opportunities and all of these things. I am hungry. Feed me. But I have to pause and look back at from what I have done. From this podcast, from the new podcast I'm launching, from a book, from the amount of money I have helped other brands achieve, the amount of stages I've been on. I'm not the best, but I'm trying to be the best version of myself to serve others. My goal, I have audacious goals, and life humbles me. And I might have to modify the goal a little bit, maybe take off a zero, maybe extend my time. That doesn't make me a failure. And yes, I'm talking to myself as someone who doesn't get joy from achieving things. I get relief. There's always the next battle. There's always the next fight. There's always the next goal. I don't spend enough time sitting in the celebration of things. I'm working on it. Work in progress. And you're probably relating to me. Work in progress. You're working on it too. But where are you at? How are you navigating? How are you moving? How are you growing? How are you taking initiative? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm trying to do this with my podcast. I'm testing this out. Yeah, my first 100 episodes was all me, 30 minutes or less, solo hosted. We doing this thing, right? And somehow, since 100, I had this idea for a master class. And my first one was with Susan and Scott Westwater. Phenomenal, great individuals. Chi-Town, hey, represent. And we did this amazing YouTube video. We've had 2 episodes. I think a third one may be coming out, the last part of that series. A lot of people have consumed it. We talked about AI, all the different components. How does it impact all the different things? We went deep dive. So if you haven't checked out those episodes or watched the video on YouTube, yes, there's a full video of me talking, not just me audio on YouTube. youtube.com/findtroy. Go check it out. I promise you'll see it in 10 seconds and enjoy. Let me know what you think. Comment and like and share. And I did the masterclass. And then I did another solo episode like normal. That next solo episode, and then the solo episode before the masterclass episodes, was the most I've ever had in my entire time doing the podcast. I've been doing solo episodes this whole time. I take a break, do a masterclass series, and now people hear the next episode, just me. It triples in downloads in the first 7 days. Never happened the entire time I've done podcasting. And then the previous one, I think doubled, skyrocketed. I have had more downloads in the last 2 months from a percentage and literal download level than I've had all of last year at the same ratio of time and info combined. It's been amazing. It's been crazy. But what have I learned from that? I'm grown and evolved. I said the first 100 are for me. And I did it a certain way intentionally to prove something. I did it. I completed the task. Now the next is exploration. Let's see what works. Let's see what sticks. Let's see what lands in the market with my listeners, with my audience. Let's see if I can invite new people to I Digress. There was 5 times I was thinking of changing the name of I Digress, but I built so much sweat equity in it, I don't want to change it now because it made sense to me. Like, people know my moniker, which is registered, by the way, the strategy hacker, business is, strategy hackers. I was going to change it to strategy hacker of some type of podcast or something like that because, I'm all about strategy and growth, and that makes more sense to where I'm going as business. I digress was because now that I know I have ADHD and I go on tangents and tie it into business, it was catchy, it was different, it was new, but I built the sweat equity in that. So I've grown that. I've developed that. That's not what the plan was, but here we are. I didn't expect to have a second podcast, but here we are. I didn't expect this podcast to become a book, but here we are. I didn't expect to achieve 100 episodes, but here we are. I didn't expect to achieve 750,000 downloads or 250,000 more to go to 1 million, but here we are. I didn't think I could ever make money from this podcast, but now I'm asking folk, my podcast is a valuable, sponsor the thing. Let's have conversations. Let's have real, genuine conversations, not about how many downloads I've got in a month, but how does being associated with my podcast help your brand or reach my audience? Or allow me the opportunity to test your product or service or offering, assess you. And if I vibe with you, now my audience is trusting Troy to maybe say, I'll check it out. I'll look what's going on. Speaking of which, I'm recording this episode on Riverside. Want that crisp sound, the easy flow. If you click on my link in the show notes, please, to show my value to Riverside, we could be doing some collaborations with them down the road. I think I had someone ask me this one time, Troy, why are you trying to get sponsors and ads for a podcast? Don't you want to just give the value and hope people will come? I said, many people who create podcasts who are at a certain level and they say, well, I don't have any ads on it. That's a privilege because it costs money to produce a podcast, people. And for most of my episodes, a lot of that work was my own. I was the recorder, editor, producer, all of it, audio engineer, all of it. It's time consuming. It costs literal money to do a podcast. It's not free. You got to pay for hosting. You got to pay for a lot of things, y'all. It's not free. Just like trying to be an athlete is not free to go through so many shoes and equipment and everything on the opportunity to hopefully get the residuals back that you put in. And there's nothing wrong with me saying I'm doing this for value. Yes, I'm also doing this for money. Now, sure, I could put this behind a paywall and charge people $5.99, maybe $10 a month to consume this, but I haven't. Instead, I want the consumer to access this for free. And I'm not going to be ashamed if I am able to get sponsors and read ads to help me continue to do this for free. But that also adds more value for me to be sustainable. What do I want to say? Sustainability first, scalability second. Again, I'm testing this out with this episode. This is a long episode. So I'm like, do you vibe with it? Do you not vibe with it? I think Mr. Beast is putting out the longest videos ever done. He's never done a video that long. And he's testing out with the game show and all that jazz, what he's doing. Always trying to level up, always trying to test. And so am I. Like, do y'all vibe with this? Really? A solo hosted short Sandidge episode that typically probably would have been cut in 2 by now is pursuing and reaching a 1 hour mark, right? First time ever. Will you like it? Will you not? Will the listeners drop off halfway through? Did it not vibe? Troy, you talk too much about basketball. I don't know nothing about basketball. That doesn't land with me. Your analogy sucks. And you may feel that way. That's cool. That's cool. Or maybe this thing does really well, blows up. Like, Troy, I need more of you in this way. Like, literally, I got up really early in the morning. Now, I'm sharing this not to be facetious. I'm sharing this for a point. Got really early in the morning. Went to the gym. Almost died in the gym. Had a lot of thoughts in my head. Got home. Started recording. This is all I did. I'm everything else. I'm giving you the first of my day. And I'm hoping that this experience is valuable to you. And we're going to keep it a buck. We're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it honest. But I digress. The honest truth. The only truth I can give you. The only truth that has any relevancy that I can exchange to you. Because, again, we all come from different walks of life and conditions. I had to learn everything I've ever had to get. I wasn't given anything. I was not given a golden spoon. I was raised by 2 phenomenal parents. And I have this audacious goal one day to return so many favors to them. I want to take care of so many people, but that requires me to take care of myself, which may be a segue for a future episode. So look out for that. But I digress. The truth is, anything worth doing not only requires sacrifice, not only is hard, not only requires you to look at the realities and surpass these certain statistics and all that jazz. You have to find some type of structure for yourself and your psyche internally to do it enough to see any remote glimpse of light that they will inspire you and motivate you to do even better, that will then inspire you to do even better and better and better and grow and evolve. Initially for me, get past 13 episodes, that's where everyone drops off at. Bet Troy did that. Get to doing it for 6 months and achieve 5,000 downloads for 1 month at one point. Troy finally did that. Opportunity came knocking to be on the network. Did it. Now I'm part of the Hustle Podcast Network. Was I the lowest person on the network? Heck yeah. I was part of the original 8, lowest downloads numbers. They chose to rock with me and I kept it going. I've been chasing. Now, will I ever achieve the amount of downloads at my first million? No. No way in the world. I don't have the same tone, experience, socioeconomic status, investment funds, visibility, none of that. And y'all should go check out my first million. Y'all should go check out every show on the Hustle Podcast Network. There's a lot of value there. Please do. Do it for me. Do it for Troy. But if you're listening to me, you know I'm a little bit different. You know I'm a little, I'm not the people's champ like The Rock, but I'm like the little people's champ. I'm the outcasts, the outsiders, the underrepresented business level micro champ of this really small universe that I'm trying to do and put this sweat equity in. This is not easy. It's not even 10 a.m., y'all. And for those who don't know, I am not a morning person. But here we are putting the sweat equity, putting time for you. I'm going to push this out. I'm going to edit this down, hope and pray, numbers happen. You know what? I've always wanted to drop an episode and I get tagged on Twitter/X, on LinkedIn, and people pushing quotes saying this was a great episode. And it's like a wave. Like I go back to sleep or take a nap or something or go D&D for a little bit. And I come back and it's just like bing, 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 bing. And that's never happened to me just yet. And that's cool. I'm hoping one day it will. But as you're chasing these big audacious goals, you have a micro sub-level of goals, of milestones that you will actually start achieving too. And you need to relish in those moments. We're chasing those glimpses of light to keep us going. Yes, the reason I am still doing this podcast, I made money off this podcast at one point. And I want to continue to do that. I want to make money again. I've had opportunities because of this podcast. I've learned how to speak because of this podcast. I have trained myself to now, when I got to hit a switch and just talk and just do what I need to do, it's because of the podcast, because I put in the reps, your spacing, your tone, your breathing, how you articulate. There were times where I couldn't pull certain words. That's okay. And I would be really frustrated and upset at myself. And then I would go back, learn the words, and come back. And I'm like, Troy, you're so articulate. No. Troy has put in a lot of work to practice. I'm like, I realize as I'm listening to past episodes, I'm saying the same words. Troy, expand your vocabulary. I'm saying the same topics. Expand your horizon of topics. Sure, I still test the market and seeing what lands with you, the listener. I appreciate you. I do not see you as a 1 or a 0. I see you as another human who maybe identifies with me, who's trying to grow and scale their business, become a creator, a podcaster, an entrepreneur, or you're just trying to survive your 9 to 5 and be great at that. Not everything has to be the top epsilon of the extreme. If you can make $100,000 and cover all your bills and have 5 vacations a year and take care of your family and be done by 5 p.m., that is a win too. You don't have to hustle 24/7. People have grown, evolved, reinvented themselves literally. And so can you. Going back to being a digital athletes, and I know we've covered a lot of things. This is probably the most I digressed episode in a long time. So I'm trying to make sure from start to finish, we've had some type of infrastructure here that makes sense to you. Maybe it made sense to me, and we'll see what will happen. The honest truth in all of this, we know the numbers are not in our favor from the jump. So don't let that discourage you. We know that it's going to be hard, but let's unpack the hardships of that. And that's going to be another episode on that as well. What does a win look like right now that's in your grasp that you can do? Okay, you have an audacious goal. Let's backtrack it. You're trying to get to the pros level. And let's say you're starting off in youth. Okay, let's do the math. Let's do the timeline. Let's go through the realities. What is needed? What do I have? What can I pull from? What do I have to work with? And then move forward in that way. How do we navigate this? How do we grow this thing? How do we do this thing in a way that doesn't burn us out? Let's just get to the next glimmer of light. Pause, be happy, do a happy, joy dance, and then do it again, and then do it again, and do it again. If we chase the glimmer of light, eventually we're going to be fully 1000% in the light. And when we're fully 1000% in the light, we're shining bright like diamonds, and it's almost like we can will ourselves to whatever we need to do. But it's not easy, and not everyone can do it. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but maybe In time, you learn that you need to do it in a different way. And that's the thing. We're leaning on thinking of this like a roadmap, when we need to lean it and think of it like a GPS. We adapt, modify, and be agile towards the destination, but the route may change, and that's okay. Because really, we're ultimately chasing at the end of the day freedom, peace, success, validation, affirmation, comfort, joy, happiness, all these things. And we may associate those things with a certain amount of money. And yet, for some weird reason, no matter how much money you achieve on this earth, you're still going to have problems. So, are you taking care of your health? Like, yo, take care of your health. Drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. No, drink 12. Okay? It doesn't hurt. Put some flavor in that water. Trust me, it's going to be like popping. You're going to be done with it by half the day. And you're like, oh my goodness, I finished my water. Do that. Take breaks. Take some vacations. Don't let every weekend go by and you aren't living some type of your life. Yeah, you can sacrifice your 20s and your 30s to have great 40s and 50s, but not everyone gets that privilege. We don't know how much time we have. Not everyone's going to be a pro NBA all-star equivalent of whatever it is that you do. But you can still make something great of it. You can still be in the high epsilon of something and achieve something really good. I'm not telling you to settle. I'm telling you to recalibrate your goals for achievement, to achieve the glimpse of light, and keep going. And you never know how far it goes. If you would have told me in September of 2020, during the pandemic, that this podcast would still be around, I would not have believed you. You gotta be kidding me. That this would create a book for me, Strategies Up. If you go to strategiesupbook.com, buy it, leave me a review, let me know what you think. Maybe we can do something on the pod. I don't know. No. If you would have told me, I would have been speaking on stages, 2-time MC at Inbound, introducing people like Viola Davis, promoting President Barack Obama, speaking on stages in multiple countries, on multiple continents. A person who was told for the longest time couldn't articulate a word to save his life, too timid to talk to 5 and 10 people, let alone thousands of people. Self-conscious about my body, self-conscious about my skin, self-conscious about how I share things, how I say things. Does anyone care? Does anyone listen? Yeah, I deal with that even now, still. But yet, I built the muscle and the tolerance to just perform and do and try and not be afraid of failure. Failure still sucks. There's no glamorization in failure. It sucks. We learn, we pivot, and we move on, and you hope the failure isn't a massive loss. But just because it didn't cost you money doesn't mean it didn't cost you energy, didn't cost you mental fortitude, didn't cost you confidence. Season 3 media, S3M for short. Business me and my good friend Christina K, which again ties back into the podcast and Fit to Growth. I'm fitogrowth.com for the podcast. Go check it out. Go to season3media.com. Go check it out. We're trying to build this thing. And I'm very, very clear this thing can work. And there's been periods of time where I'm like, this is going to work. And then there's seasons of time where it's like the market's being wonky right now. And I know the market's been wonky for everybody in Q1. But again, if we lean back to digital athletes, how many times did they have an injury? An unexpected thing. They already have enough problems and challenges. Now I got to recover from this incident and not do my normal routine and then double up to try to get back maybe what was lost. I may not be at 100%. I may be at 90%. I'm still trying to chase this dream. And some people actually do it and some people don't. So I'm sure to say, like, as I'm building all these different things, it's not glamorous, it's hard. I'm hoping for my big break. You might, well, Troy, you got your big break. Have I? What you may deem as a big break to you may be different from me. We're all on different paths and different circumstances and different needs. And so comparing yourself to other people, if Steph Curry was trying to be like LeBron, he wouldn't be Steph Curry. If Kobe Bryant wasn't emulating MJ, he probably wouldn't be Kobe Bryant. There's instances where you emulate other people and you achieve that next level epsilon and then redefine it for your own level of greatness. There's times where you can't mimic other people. You have to be your own individual and you define your own level of greatness. Your own path has to be your own. It's different. The chances, all of it, modified. It's all different. And what I hope you take away from this episode, my first one of just going this deep, this long, this hard, please don't let this flop. Be comfortable in being real with yourself, with your reality of what you have to go on. Adjust and navigate accordingly. And be strong in your conviction. Be confident. Be poised. And do. People spend too much time in the idea phase and they never try it. I would rather learn quickly how much more is required for my idea to be something of a reality than to stay in the idea phase and tell everyone about it and never do anything, and then you have regret. I'll share this last story and I'm done. I remember when my wife was trying to go back to school and we achieved this thing. I say we because support is hard, y'all. A bachelor's degree. We were like, okay, cool. Now the next phase is CPA and all that jazz. And we've come to find out we didn't hit the credits amount to achieve that yet. I was like, ooh, that wasn't the plan. You just moved the goalpost. We had no idea. So an opportunity came up where now she could do a program and finish her master's. And if she finished the master's, she would surpass the amount of credits needed to do the CPA. And the rules changed. We had to adjust our timing. We had to have a lot of deep conversations of like, well, how are we going to do this thing? How are we going to navigate? And the dynamics, we were depending on this being this certain way for this to happen. And in many cases, I'm sure for you as entrepreneurs or you as creators or podcasters or business professionals, you were dependent on getting that promotion by the end of this year. You were depending on getting that sponsorship by the end of the year. You're depending on this blowing up in 6 months. You set these tangible things that you're thinking by this time, this will happen and everything will be set. I literally need like 5 more clients by the end of the month and this would be set. And that may or may not happen, but I digress. We set these things and then reality is like, no, we need more. We need more of your time, more of your energy, more patience, more discipline, more diligence, more resiliency to make this happen, to have a chance at making this happen. Then you got to dig deep. You got to look at the cost. Got to be, real with yourself. Where's my safety net? What's my threshold? Can I do this? Can I ask for help? Who can help? How can they help? And in what manner can we manifest this forward? So we realigned. We stuck to our guns. One of the hardest years ever. And lo and behold, it happened. Cool. I still got to do CPA at some point. But if I would have stopped at that threshold and we just been like, oh, they said you need more credits. That's it. You're done. And we don't even try. We don't even try and just give up. We're so afraid of something that's so unknown. We're paying dividends for something or running away from something that could be our success. Our future self could be that successful. But we're running away from it because we're scared of the reality, of the friction, of this new challenge, this new curveball. And we could literally be a few more steps away from it. But because we see something, the last boss, another traffic jam after going through so many, or whatever the equivalency of analogy you want to put in here, insert here, and we stop. It's not easy. None of this is easy, people. I don't know what people think we're going to get participation trophies, equivalency of money, of impact, of growth, of success. That's going to take away the sting of not being in first place and what we're trying to do. Sorry, that is not life. There are winners and losers. That's it. But we all, in loss, can still be a winner. Again, I'm going to say it again. We all can be winners despite losing. Don't fail. You can have failures, but don't fail. Don't quit on yourself. Don't let yourself be defined by the statistics or the odds. Let it be defined by your own power, putting yourself in the right conditions, having the right convictions, having the right confidence, having the right commitments to put yourself for the best chance to achieve something, to do something, and have your community help you, guide you, support you, all these things. Be the Caitlin Clark of your own story. Be the Michael Jordan of your own story. You are your own athlete. Train yourself. Build the discipline. Build the skills. Yeah, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Yeah, you won't get everything you want in the time frame of which you want it. But you'd be surprised what other things you may get along the way if you just slowly keep going. And at the pace you can. Not everyone can do the same pace. Me giving you advice on my journey can be different because maybe your whole conditions is different. You can probably maybe go faster than me because you have more connections. You have more funds to invest in, all these different things than me. Or maybe you're slower. You have to build the brand equity, the personality, the confidence. And that's okay. Run your own race is real. It's not something people just say to be cute. Run your own race. Let this episode jolt some confidence and conviction. Let it spark some things about what I need to do differently, what I need to let go, what I need to pick up. Let me try again. Or maybe have a conversation with me. Tag me on Twitter, tag me on LinkedIn. It's like, I enjoyed this episode, Troy. Let's have a conversation. That would do a lot good for me, make me feel kind of good as an empath. And the first 5 people who do that, whether on Twitter /X or LinkedIn, will get a full hour of my time. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about for free. So if you're trying to try, I don't want to be a client because I want to pay you your price, but I want to pick your brain. And I hate people picking my brain. I will humor you and give you that hour. Do me some good too. Maybe you want to talk about sponsorships, how to grow a podcast. I don't care. The hour's yours. So if you listen this far in the episode and you tag me and you say, hey, I just listened to your episode. Maybe let me know how it did. Maybe if you haven't left me a review, leave me a review for some kudo points, brownie points, all the points, please, please. It would do my heart good. Let's do this thing. Let's have a conversation. So I love that. I leave that as a gift for those who listen this far. To all my listeners, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I hope this episode empowers you. I hope you feel seen, you feel heard. I hope you know that you're not alone. I hope you know that this is difficult, this is challenging, this is hard. Everyone's trying to figure it out. I'm not coming from a place of I've made it with you right now. However, you're listening. I haven't made it. I am trying to make it. And while I'm doing that, I'm documenting this and sharing this with you. I am taking a lot of L's. I have been taking so many L's this year. It has been unreal. And I'm going to talk about that in a later episode, I promise. But it's been so challenging. This has challenged everything that I've ever known as a creator, as an entrepreneur, and that, falls away into podcasting and speaking and all the things I'm trying to do additionally. And it is one of the hardest periods of my life. I won't say it's a midlife crisis. No internal factors like that, but it's been a lot of external ones, making me doubt everything. Of all the achievements, of all the things that I have done to this point, it feels irrelevant, like it doesn't even matter right now. Like, what's the next thing? How do I survive? How do I thrive? How do I grow? How do I build? How do I transform? How do I evolve? As I'm reflecting in this moment, in this very second of feeling all the feels, of not wanting to show up today, this should have been recorded like 10 days ago. Here I am. But it probably wouldn't be as raw and real and different. That's why I'm always like, sometimes when things don't happen the way it happens, when, where, why, how you want it to happen, and it happens naturally, you might get something really good that would have never happened otherwise. All the things that happened this week before I even came to this mic conditioned me to be in this moment, to present and say everything I'm saying to you right now in this moment to you right now. That's probably, maybe not everybody, if I'm doing the percentages, maybe the 1% of the 1% who have listened to this point are like, you sparked a thing, and that may be the ripple effect to help me do the thing that you may not even realize this was a spark to help you, and you probably will never even tell me about it. I'm talking to myself. It's not like I get the affirmation of people saying this is great, I need this right now, thank you. But my hope is I'm putting it out there in the world for myself, but really for you too. And if it does, someone that see it in the world, good, and you do it for somebody else. And that's the thing. None of us got this figured out. Everybody wants to quit. Everybody wants to be done. Everybody wants this to be over. No one's going to care. No one knows how big your dream is and that someone like you could do it unless you do it and continue to do it. Started this thing because I didn't see enough people who sounded like me from where I'm from, talking the game in ways and mannerisms that made sense to me, that broke it down for me, that I could relate to, that I connect with, and grow from. So I said, why me? Instead of me complaining about not enough representation, be the representation. So that way future generations can say they felt represented. Sometimes you just got to be in a space where the only one. One of the only ones in my private high school. I've been one of the only ones in my entire educational experience. I've been the only one in most of my jobs. I've gotten tolerant and comfortable. And it's not easy, but I want to do something different. I want to be something different. I want to be the difference maker in the generations. I want to change. Yeah, I've taken some L's. Yeah, things didn't work out. No, I haven't. I've made over like $200 million for people, for businesses. I haven't made $1 million. I've never made $1 million. I've never come even close to that. I've had other people make that. I'm almost on my way to $1 million downloads. That doesn't mean every person who's ever downloaded an episode could pay me $1. I wish. But we got to take these wins and resonate in those wins as we pursue our goals. What if I told you, it was like, I don't know if I was going to be able to pay the internet bill, which I need to upload this episode. Yeah, the internet bill's paid. Yeah, this episode has been uploaded. Whew, good one. In the hopes that maybe, hey, it's going to lead to clients, sponsorships, speaking opportunities, collaborations, all these different things. Or at the very least, someone's inspired to continue doing what they need to do, because who would have thought if I didn't record have everything that happened this week to record today, to then post this today. For whoever is listening, for that person to listen to do what they needed to do, could spark the next big thing or to help someone else who needed that boost. We don't think about the things that we're doing are directly connected to other people doing what they do. I listened to a podcast episode on my run today. If I didn't listen to that podcast on the run today, maybe I wasn't inspired to do this episode today. And that they didn't even realize it. They would never know that unless I tell them and tag them. I'm like, no, like, hey, thank you. Because of you taking that time, posting on that day, probably you didn't want to, don't know your external circumstances, I wouldn't be inspired to do what I'm doing. That maybe inspires someone else to do what they're doing. And the cycle continues. At the end of the day, the odds aren't in your favor. Statistics are never in your favor. But we can be in the higher epsilon of those who break those stigmas and those stereotypes and be beyond the statistics and be successful in whatever way we choose to being, knowing that we won't always be what we want to be from the jump in our timeline, but that doesn't mean you can't be something great. I don't have to be the Michael Jordan of what I'm trying to do. I could be a bench player making the minimum and being in the top 1.2% of the entire world population. That's still perspective. And that's the same thing with you. And whatever it is that you feel you're destined to be good at, you're trying to be good at, or you're already good at, and you're trying to evolve and grow and scale. Take a breath, reset, drink some water, put things in perspective, do the work, yes, have some fun, yes. Give yourself grace even the more. And know that sometimes you got to evolve the goals. But that doesn't mean you don't achieve great things. You don't have to be the greatest to be great. And you can always be greater. And you can be the greatest to somebody. And then, to be honest, that's pretty great too. Well, that's all I got to say. Sending y'all love and light, good energy, good opportunities. Let's get this money. Let's get these opportunities. Let's get the support. Build the community. Build the brand equity. Build the resonance. Make the ask. Post the content. Make the connection. Go to the network event. Have the conversation. Give them the notice. Take a chance. Do something for you today without any type of outcome tied to it. And see what happens. Go be great. You don't have to be the greatest to be great. And you're probably the greatest to someone. Lean on that. T out.
And that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Digress. What was your takeaway? Care to share your thoughts and tag Troy on social media? You can find him on all platforms at Find Troy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review or comment for this episode from wherever you're listening. Looking for a marketing strategist to build the structure, strategies, and systems you need to get the success you want and the ROI you desire in your business? Book a discovery call to talk with Troy at findtroy.com. And as Troy's philosophy goes, imagination is the engine, content is the fuel, social media is the highway, marketing is the roadmap, sales is the destination, culture is the GPS. Thanks for listening.